Okay. I've never heard my name said so much before. It's such a weird name. Now that I hear it, it has all meaning to me. It's like Suzanne MacDonald. There's a lot of syllables. It just seems weird. Let's not say that anymore. Okay? We're done for today. So, I just want to thank everybody here, and thanks for all the great talks throughout the conference. It's been fantastic. The poster's been amazing. Such fantastic students. The symposium speakers. I could weep, but I'm trying not to, so I'm just going to say, amazing. And Ken, come on. I'm overwhelmed. I really don't want to be overwhelmed, but I am. And I also want to just say a little political thing and say I'm very grateful to my Canadian colleagues and international colleagues who made it to the conference this year. Thank you so much. My voice is not great. I'm blaming Albuquerque. I think if I was here a week longer, I'd be mummified because it just seems to be desiccating moment by moment. But I did want to not ignore the fact what is happening in the world. And so I made a talk that doesn't have data. You can just relax, have a nap, enjoy yourself. I just want to talk, okay? And I want to show you pictures, and I want to tell you stories, but I don't want to talk about data. My lovely colleagues showed all these publications. I have none. I'm not going to show you any. Why? Because this is a special point in history. This is the weirdest freaking time I could ever imagine in history. It is, I say special, and that's not in a good way. It's just, what is going on? Is when I wake up every morning going, what is going on? And I look at all these young people and go, how do you even get out of bed? I mean, really, the environment is a disaster. All you ever hear is that. Climate change is happening and people don't even admit it. And I don't even want to talk about the orange one who's in charge of this country. I don't know what's going on. So I just wanted to have an hour of positivity, okay? Let's just have an hour where we don't have to think about that anymore and think about things we can do to make the world better. I think we should do that. You don't have to do it, I'm just saying, let's think about it. It's just a thought experiment. So, many of us are in psychology departments, right? So we have colleagues who might not understand what the hell we do. They might go, oh, you're the animal folks, isn't that cute? That's adorable. And that's what I get all the time. I'm like, oh, isn't she adorable? Like a mascot kind of thing, right? That's fine. But you know what? Our field has a very long history, and it's the only one who knows how to do things. I say this to clinical psychology all the time. Look, we have laws of behavior. We know how to do stuff, and we should have some respect paid to us because of that. So I want to talk about the things that I've been doing recently. These are all recent things. Laura's, the data that are coming in on the crows were just they're still coming in today. So yeah, it's still coming in. So I want to talk just about a few stories. And I'm going to just tell you stories, tell you about an approach that I have been using to make myself feel better. So I'm going to just focus on 3 places. So I work in lots of different places. I've been working in Mumbai and Madrid and South Carolina and other places, but I'm going to focus on Kenya, Toronto, and Vancouver. Okay, so here's what I've learned in my many years on this planet. It has taken me a while. I spent my whole career trying to pretend that humans don't exist. I like you, but I don't like very many of the other ones. They're not that great. I haven't met that many that I think are that great. They're annoying. When you work in a zoo, humans are the source of all problems. At a zoo, you know that. Oh, the schedules are destroyed by the humans, the visitors are destroying them, everything is screwed up by the humans. We are the bad variable, right? We're the confounding variable. Unfortunately, what I've discovered is that we are the single most destructive force on the planet, but we are the ones that run the planet. So if we ignore the humans, we are in trouble. And that is what I'm going to talk about, is how I've been trying to work around this issue of humans. I know we are them, but I'm going to... So we're going to start, we're going to start in Kenya. Yes. And I'm just going to give you a little background on this place that I work in Kenya, which is fantastic. How many of you have been to Kenya? Did you know that Rob Hampton went to high school in Nairobi? No, I know. It's awesome. How many of you have been to Kenya? See, enough of you. Isn't it amazing? It's an amazing country. And I'm going to talk about some work I've been doing at my field site, which is in northern Kenya, near Mount Kenya. Now, why Kenya? Well, Kenya is a fantastic country, not just because it's beautiful and has animals, but because the policies towards animals are different there. So if you worked in South Africa, anyone worked in South Africa? No, Julie just got back from South Africa. In South Africa, individuals own the animals. So you can have a private conservancy and you own your elephants, for example. In Kenya, the Kenyan people, as a whole, own the animals. And so it results in a very different approach and a very different view towards animals. Not as accessories or objects that can be sold, but as a legacy and part of their culture and their traditions. So I have very much enjoyed working in Kenya. So this red part is where I work. It's about 61,000 hectares, it's enormous, and it is connected to about 1 million other up to the north. So this is a landscape that is unlike any others, and I've been on board of this conservancy for about 15 years, which is why I go there. The beauty of it is, it's not like in South Africa where everything's fenced, it's open. We have fences around to protect rhinos, but it is open, and as Kristen very helpfully showed, we have gaps in fences so animals can move freely between them and go wherever they want. So the choice and control issue is not an issue. They can come, they can go. We have to keep the rhinos in because if they go out, they will be poached because they're worth a lot of money. So we have little rock walls that the rhinos just kind of, in a cartoon fashion, kind of bump up against, and they can't climb. But the other animals can climb over. So that's where we are. I'm going to show you nice pictures now. That's Mount Kenya. Is that not beautiful? That's a beautiful thing. That's the savannah down there that I work on. Rhinos. Doesn't love them. Zebras. Look, do you know there are 2 species of zebra? Yeah, so the left one is the gray zebra, which is highly endangered, and that's a common zebra. I feel sad because that's their name, but really, gray zebra, and we've done a study and it shows that lions prefer the endangered ones. So they can tell the difference too. So they look for the thin stripes and they eat those ones, and that's probably why they're endangered. There's babies. Always need a baby. Vervet monkeys, been working with vervet monkeys recently. There's a lovely lioness after a kill. There's her mate, just having a snooze. Lovely elephants on this, and me. Yeah, that's me. So I wasn't at CO3 last year because I was at an international conservation meeting at Lima. You can see we were working very hard. There was alcohol in this picture. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because this is a real place that is trying to do good things. And the people who live around this real place do not care about publications. And they do not care about grants. And they do not care about theoretical advancements. We do, but they don't care. So the people there care because the animals I showed you kill their children on the way to school. And they kill their livestock, and then they have nothing for their livelihood. Or they raid their crops and take all of their livelihood. That's what they care about. So as long as I keep going to this place and doing all these interesting things that fascinate me, but I don't have them, I'm starting to realize that's a little bit of the problem. This is a real world problem that these people face every single day. Should we kill a rhino and get an enormous amount of money? Or should we leave the rhino and have it, or the elephant, whichever you want to do, destroy our livelihood? That's a real world problem. And that is the problem. So we sit here and we say, oh, it's terrible that people are poaching the animals. Well, you might do the same if you were in that situation. I know people whose children have been killed by lions on the way to school, and it's not fun. So, when you go to school, you're not worried about that, but they are. So, I've been studying how to keep animals and humans safe at the same time. So a lot of what we've done has been to study animal movement. Where are they? So this is going to be your theme. I'm going to tell you the process, and the process is always like, let's learn about the animals. So we spent a long time learning about the animals, and we put GPS trackers on hyenas and lions. That is not an easy thing. It's terrifying, I gotta tell you. And they don't mind it. you'd think they, actually she really likes hers and she kind of shows it off to everybody. She's quite happy about it. Some of them are not, and we do allow them, if they don't want it, they get it taken off, but some of them don't mind. I know hyenas. I showed a nice picture because most people go, hyenas, they're terrible. No, they're not, they're lovely. Lovely. So we've been putting GPS trackers on to find out where they are, and then once we find out where they are, we have to raise millions of dollars to build fences to keep the people away from where the animals are. Not the other way around. Just like in the, I think my zoo, ideal zoo would be keeping the animals in the cages and the people in the cages and the animals could range free. That's what we're trying to do there. So we keep the fences around the people, not around the animals. But it does cost millions and millions of dollars, so that's a lot of work to raise millions and millions of dollars. So we have now developed 3 stages of fences, because the first phase we thought this would be great, didn't work. Second phase, it didn't work. Third phase, we're hoping might work, but we have to keep studying the effectiveness of these fences. So that's one of the things that helps keep the people safe. The issue is, can we play this thing? That we have elephants who are very smart, and they can figure out, this is from the Conservancy, they can figure out how to dig underneath the fence. So you know, we just spent like $20,000 on that little spot of fence, and the elephants are like, I don't care. So they just climb right under, and that's disappointing. But we see it as a nice challenge. So because these animals that we're working with are intelligent problem solvers, we have to be smarter than they are, and that is often not the case, but we give it a shot. So what we have done is trying to figure out, okay, where the elephants are, where the animals are, we have to protect them where they are and let them go where they want to go. This is very related to what everybody was saying. It's quite awesome. So we have created an elephant underpass, which Kristen alluded to, that again costs over $1 million to buy land, build a corridor, and at the, sorry, it's not going. Oh no. Yeah, okay. Nope. Didn't like going to YouTube. There. Okay, so this is just from somebody's Twitter. So elephants used to go across the road, they get hit by cars, the people would die, the elephants would die, it was very bad. We had to build an underpass under a road and then teach them how to use it, because elephants are smart problem solvers. So I talked about this at CO3 a few years ago, and the way I did it is I used dung of an alpha male that everybody knew in the group, so they all knew he was a good guy, and I took his poop and I spread it all down the corridor, and then, because I'm a good associative learner, I used a scent, vanilla, to associate that with a safe space. And so I put that new scent all through the corridor, and when they went through the corridor and didn't die, they remembered, vanilla is good. So now I can put vanilla anywhere and attract them wherever we want them to be, because they told each other that vanilla is a safe scent. So you use what you got, right? We know how to do this stuff, and it actually works. The elephants, this is the way we talk to them to tell them this is a good place for you to go. However, it's not just predators, so there's lots of other animals there that also have conflicts with humans. This is a rivet monkey who's just stolen something from me. I just anthropomorphize it. They're very guilty. I don't know if they are, probably not. But they go and they steal food from humans, they steal your camera, they steal your phone, they steal your laptop, they crop raid in farmers' lands. And so my lovely friend Valerie is on the left there, we got money to go and study whether the animals in a conservancy like the place I go, which is protected, have different stress levels, different cortisol levels, are different than the ones in the place where she works in Uganda, where the monkeys are poisoned and shot when they do these things. And so we've been doing that for several years over the pandemic, because we got the grant right as the pandemic came. So this is Vincent and Ken. They work for us in Kenya every day for 4 years. They went out and followed monkeys. It's very nice. This is a fake shot. I asked them to sit down and look busy. That's why Vincent was laughing, because it was so hilarious. But they go out and they follow monkeys, and there's snakes, and they stand on them, and it's terrible. And they're very, very dedicated people. So Vincent, who's in the red shirt, he said one day when I was there last year, I'd like you to come out with me to the community and talk to some of our tribal elders. And I said, that's absolutely, I'll come and do that. However, my Swahili is not great, and they don't speak English. So he said, it's okay, I'll translate for you. So I went out, and I met with them, and it was very interesting. They were all men, of course. And my Swahili is not great, but I did hear Ngubavu a lot. I know that word, and it means stupid. And I heard them saying that over and over again. And then Vincent would turn to me and say, they have some questions about their research and whether it's relevant for them. And then they're just like that. Like, okay, I get it. They didn't know that I knew that meant stupid, but he was very polite. So I got the message that this, although I thought it was fantastic, look, we got to study stuff, we're adding theoretical knowledge to the world. These folks who live there think it's stupid. And I can't blame them, really, because this is what's important to them. These are their crops. And if the monkeys come in and raid their crops, they don't have anything. They can't feed their family and they have nothing to sell. And so we were studying the monkeys raiding their crops, but we didn't stop them, because of course we're scientists. We don't intervene. We just let them do that and figure out under what conditions do they do that, and what kind of crops do they like, and what kind of fences can they get over, and all those things. And these poor people were seeing us doing that and not helping them. And that was kind of a light bulb moment for me last year, going, oh my God, no wonder they think we're stupid. This isn't, I cannot believe that. It didn't dawn on me before that the real people who live there don't care about our research. So they took me around their fields. This is David, he's a mayor, the guy with the big gut there. He's lovely, and he can speak English, and he's looking at me with like sort of, and saying, you know, whatever. And so they're like, you can't keep these monkeys out of our fields. So I went off by myself, because it was all men, honestly, I'm sorry, men, you're exhausting when you're working. It's too much for me sometimes. And so I just went off and I stood, and I just looked at the crops. And then I had an idea. I mean, it happens very rarely, but I had an idea. And I literally, I swear to God, I turned around and I yelled, bees! At the top of my lungs. And I don't know what happened, why I did that, but I did because I had an idea that bees were good. And that's when he's laughing, because he's like, oh, she's having a stroke. Bees. What the hell? He was the only one who understood English enough to know that bees, what bees meant. And then I said, no, I'm very excited, I have an idea, you have to listen to it. So I told them, look we use bees to keep elephants away from crops. Okay, they plant, they have beehives, and the sound of the bees gets associated with stings, and so they stay away. They don't like bees. It doesn't actually work. Everybody tells you it works all the time. It doesn't work all the time, because bees or elephants are really smart, and they habituate to the bees. But I figured monkeys are not that smart. They might not habituate to the bees. And so I was telling David there, I was saying, David, you can make money off the honey. This is the greatest idea ever. We can keep the monkeys away, and you'll have honey. And he's like, we like honey. Honey might work. He's a very cool guy, actually, and he says it just like that, honey might work. And I said, can we get beehives? And he said, I think we can get some beehives. So I said, all right, we have to figure out where they're coming in, and we'll put the beehives there, and we'll see what happens. So we did that. So that is the second, so the first part was figure out what's going on. Second part is talk to people. The third part is designing an intervention using comparative cognition. Vervets don't like bees. They don't like bees. They stopped raiding the crops. Hooray! I'm so happy. Don't applaud, because this is them. We now use it actually on the Conservancy to keep them away from tourists, so that they won't steal their cameras and they won't steal their phones. And the bees work beautifully. And there's honey that they can sell. Hooray. Associative learning for the win. Yay! That's awesome. Except for, don't applaud, because this is the problem. Yeah, anybody who works with primates knows, oh no. Because vervets are nice little monkeys, and they are afraid of bees, and they don't come anywhere near bees. But these are all baboons, and they don't give a damn. They're gonna come in no matter what, and they ate the bees. So, back to the drawing board on that one. But why am I telling you this? Because at least we gave it a shot, right? And they get honey, and they don't eat all the bees, and some of the bees are there enough to keep the vervets away, which is great. But the baboons are just gonna come and do what they want to do. So now I gotta figure out how to keep the baboons away. But you know what? Now I have a whole community of elders who is behind this research and wants it to be done and is thinking of ideas, because I don't have any. I only have one idea, and that was it. But now they're going to come up with ideas. And they text me, and they email me, and they say, I have an idea. And that is a glorious thing. So I don't care. It just worked out, because now they understand that we work together and that we do care whether they have issues. And that is not just in East Africa. So I am going to tell you a little bit about raccoons, because I know people like raccoons. I like raccoons. I don't want you to work with raccoons, but I like raccoons. They're amazing. So same steps as Kenya. This is the process. It's like a little process. You got to find out stuff about them. You got to ask people about them. And then you got to design a plan. And so that's what we're going to talk about now. So the first thing we did was try to figure out where they are. Raccoons in Toronto are, Raccoons in Toronto are protected species in Ontario, in Canada actually, not in the US, I know that. And so you have to get permits to do this work. You can't just go out and work with a raccoon. It takes like a year. Why? Because raccoons have rabies, and raccoons have roundworm. Raccoons can kill you. Yes, they're cute. But if a kid gets raccoon roundworm, they die. If you get rabies, you will die, or you have very painful shots. So this is not a species that you can take into your house. It's not great. So it is a public health issue, and we needed to find out where they live. So we put GPS collars on raccoons, just like we did on hyenas and lions. And this is just an illustration. The green spots are where the raccoon was for a few months. And you can see that to the right there's a big park in Toronto called High Park. How many people have been to Toronto? Oh yeah, it's beautiful, thank you. All right, so High Park's lovely. And I just want to show you that the raccoons live in a very small area, like a couple blocks. That's their whole life. And I had assumed that the raccoons would live in the park and then come into our backyards. But in fact, they live in our backyards. And they come into the park to check the garbage cans, and then they leave right away. These are urban raccoons. They are not your standard raccoon. So raccoons in the wild have a 20 square kilometer home range, and raccoons in urban areas have about 3 square blocks. They are born, they live, they die in this very small area. So this is a big public health safety concern. These animals carry diseases. They are living in our houses, in our attics, in our garages, under our decks. We gotta know what we should do about it. So I thought I would ask people. So I asked people, what do you think about raccoons? Now, you can see that about 60% of people think that Toronto has a raccoon problem. 40% love them. Love them. So it's similar to the crows, although people love crows more than they love raccoons. But those that have had property damage really, really hate raccoons. And so I can tell you that people send me emails all the time. I want to kill the raccoons in my backyard. How would you do it? Not, is the answer. Do you think bludgeoning the babies to death is okay? No, is the answer. They have very, very strong feelings if they've had property damage. And we're talking thousands of dollars of damage. So why does Toronto have so many goddamn raccoons? Can we play the video? Oh, just a minute, don't play yet. Just a sec, so I'll just tell you a little bit. So, in Toronto, we have green bins. I noticed that they're not here. You guys don't have composting bins. So it's a big thing in Canada. Again, Canada is different than the US. And it's a big thing in Canada, where, not Toronto, no, but your Toronto, Ed. We have green bins that we compost organic waste. They're called green bins because they're green. And they get diverted from the landfill, so they don't go in the landfill. Now, Toronto, for 10 years, has had green bins that had no latches on them. And they're about this big. And everybody gets them and puts their scraps in there. And then, surprisingly, the raccoons go in there and eat the food. Who would have thought? Everyone. Really. And people are always amazed. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that the raccoons would eat the fried chicken I threw out from last night's meal. Of course they're going to do that. And I suspect if we could interview raccoons, they would say, thank you very much for this buffet that you put out every single night for us across the city of Toronto. So the city of Toronto realized it's not a great idea. So they have to come up with new bins that have raccoon resistance. You can't ever keep them out entirely, but they wanted to do that. So they solicited RFPs for the new bins. I talked to a company, told them what I would do, and I used what? Animal cognition. So I used thing, how do they problem solve? Not that well. How can we outsmart them? Pretty easily. And how else can we outsmart them? We use their anatomical size against them. So I designed the bin, and I told them this is what I would do. And then, lo and behold, 2 years later, 3 prototypes were delivered to my house by the City of Toronto, and they said, could you put cameras up and watch them and see what happens with raccoons? I said, absolutely I can. So let's do that. So this is the old bin. It did have a little latch, but I think you'll see instantly that it's not much of a latch. So if you live in Toronto, you know you used to wake up in the morning and there'd be diapers all over the place and everything all over the place, because that's what goes in the green bins. Now, oh yes, this, can we stop it for a second? This is the new bin. So they delivered 3 prototypes to my backyard, and they were labeled X, Y, and Z. I'm Z because I'm Canadian. There's going to be Canadian jobs whenever I can here. So X, Y, and Z. And I didn't know anything about them except X looked just like what I designed. And it turns out they just took my idea and they put it into a bin. And didn't give me anything, but that's fine. So, and there was Y and there was Z. So I tested them over many nights with many raccoons, and all of the bins were raccoon resistant. They couldn't get in, it was awesome. Except for the only one that the humans of Toronto could figure out was X. The other 2 were too hard. I kid you not. So problem solving is maybe not our best skill either, but they couldn't figure out, there were multiple things you had to do, and it just didn't work. So the first one was the winner. And so that, at $8 million rollout, happened across the city of Toronto, and this is the winner. So, do you want to show me? I like the music. So you can see that it's taller than the raccoon. It's bottom heavy, and it's smooth, and they can't grab onto it like they did the little one in Twice Hard. I was kind of rooting for them there, you know? Like, come on! Now, in addition to being tall, I had it so that you have to actually use 2 human hands to turn the latch mechanism, because they can't do that. They don't have opposable thumbs. And so even if he gets up there, he's actually sitting on the bin, and you can't turn it when you're on it, and they don't have the strength to turn the mechanism. But you can see they tried hard. They're, poor babies. There, yeah. Now, you notice that they're looking for where the latches used to be on the old bins. I think that's awesome. So they can knock it over, yeah. And when it's standing in the middle of a yard and you knock it over, nothing happens. So the way the mechanism actually works is the city had to invest in new garbage trucks that would come by and turn the bins upside down because they're gravity operated. And so unless the raccoon can stand up and turn it upside down, there's no way that it will open, and they give up, which is great. I studied the rollout of these bins and to see whether, because I thought, oh no, raccoons are going to be dropping dead in the streets, they're going to have no food, and it's going to be terrible, and everyone's going to blame me, and it's, oh my God. And no, they're fine. They're just as fat as they ever were. They're finding something else to do, which is great. The issue is that they're so fat that they have so many babies, and that's why we have so many raccoons in Toronto and Chicago, actually. The fatter they are, the more hypoglycemic they are. Some of them have diabetes, even though they only live a couple, 3 years. The fatter they are, the more babies they have. And the more babies they have, the more raccoons we have. And those babies have babies and babies and babies. And there's just so many raccoons, hundreds of thousands of raccoons in Toronto and Chicago. So, that's why we needed these raccoon-resistant bins. And so far, it's doing mostly fine. Some raccoons have been able to break it by putting it up against a wall and smashing it. And one individual could do that, and the rest of them, because they don't transmit knowledge that way, the rest of them just sit in an alley and wait for her to be finished, and then they come and check out the video. It's awesome, that video. It's not my video, so I didn't show it, but it is amazing. One individual figured out how to break the latch, and the rest take advantage of that. It's kind of great. Now, currently, I'm trying to work with another species that, according to our deceased mayor, Rob Ford, is the city's real problem. Opossums. Yes, the scourge of the opossum. The terrifying opossum. So, I know that you in the US are very familiar with opossums. They're marsupials, they're incredibly timid animals, they don't hurt anybody, they're lovely. But for us in Canada, this is a new species. And it's only been cited in the past 25 years. So I've been asked to find out more about them too. Same process, find out where they are. That's what I'm doing right now. And then talking to people, doing that too. And designing an intervention. So this is the opossum range. You can see it's in orange in the US. And if you look closely, oh frick, sorry, this is very cute. I know. Sorry, it didn't go. So find out where they are, talk to people, design an intervention. So this is the range. If you notice, I don't know if you know where Ontario is, but you can see there's an over the border there. Don't tell them. They've come over the border and don't have their papers, but they're over the border and they are in southern Ontario and a couple places in BC, which is great. So I have now a citizen science group, a urban opossum group, and they are identifying wherever they are, and you can see all these little dots where all they are in southern Ontario, which is awesome. But it's the climate that's responsible for them moving, and unfortunately when they move, they get in the snow and they die of frostbite, which is a sad thing. And people don't like having dead opossums in their backyards. So I have been working with a student and we're designing winter shelters for opossums that people can buy for 20 bucks and put them in their backyards for the opossums. So we're using comparative cognition, we've been using animal learning to look at preference testing of wild opossums for different types of shelters that we buy stuff at Home Depot and we put them together. And I don't know if we need to show this video, it's very long. Sure, okay. This is just in my backyard. No? That's what I'm gonna. Is it there? You can see. No. No? Content unavailable. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyway, all I can tell you is it's super cute, and they have preferences. So they check them all. It's like some Goldilocks moment where they check them all out, and then they find the one they like and they sit in it. So we know. And so now I'm going out and giving public talks and saying, look it. And most people are like, what the hell is that animal? Because no one's ever seen them before. And then I say, they're not going to hurt you. They don't build dens. They need help. We need to help them. And everyone says, sign me up. I will take one of these shelters. Here's 20 bucks. Bring me a shelter. And we do. And that is, I hope, going to help with these poor newcomers to our country that we've treated very badly by having snow. So, okay, same process. I'm going to move now to Vancouver. This is Vancouver. How many have been to Vancouver? Hooray! Beautiful place. And obviously Laura was talking about crows in Vancouver. I'm on sabbatical in Vancouver. And I like to say that raccoons are to Toronto as crows are to Vancouver. So I thought, well, I'll try and find a picture to illustrate that. And that's what I found. I gotta say, the internet's a disturbing place. I don't know who thought this was a thing that should occur, but there it is, and there you are. So, one of our next steps for the crow stuff is to actually look at attitudes toward crows in Toronto, where they are not a thing. They do not occur. but they occur like crazy in Vancouver. So, crow tracks you've already seen, and that's over the whole lower mainland. So we have to figure out where they live, and we have to talk to people, and we're talking to people thanks to the survey. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a thing, I'm gonna follow some crows, and people said, hey, have you seen the crows in Burnaby? Okay, Burnaby is that little red dot there. Okay, it's just a part of the lower mainland, it's near Vancouver, and Laura and I went out, we went to McDonald's, it was great, and we found the crows eventually. Yeah, okay. So the crows in Vancouver, every day, are all over the lower mainland, and every night, 10,000 of them come back to that little spot in Burnaby. And every morning, they all fly out again to the rest of the lower mainland. So from the picture that I showed you of Vancouver to that little spot, about 20 kilometers. They are coming from all over the lower mainland every night to there. What? Why are they doing that? And every morning, because I've been racing them in my car, they go out to West Vancouver, which is across the ocean. They go to all the different places over and over and over, every night, every day, like little commuters that live in the suburbs, and then they come and they work in the city, and every night they come back. When I say they're everywhere, this is an office building. These are crows in the snow, roosting at night. They're asleep. This is crows on a guy's van, just roosting. You can see the crows on the ground beside the guy's van. This is more crows on the ground. This is the McDonald's. This is the Costco. I put this on here because I wanted you to hear the sound, but I don't like the transmitter. When you hear 10,000 crows, it's really loud. Laura and I were running around with our cameras, but you can't really capture them. It's unbelievably loud. So the weird thing is, that little red dot in Burnaby is a McDonald's. So 10,000 crows are coming back to a McDonald's parking lot every night. And every morning they fly out. So I first thought, well, I have to watch these guys, so I've been going out a lot, watching them. And I thought, okay, well, they're coming because of the food at McDonald's, right? Because I'm thinking of seagulls. No. They closed the McDonald's, now there's even more crows at the McDonald's. The people were actually keeping the crows away. The people at McDonald's, once they closed the McDonald's for construction, more crows came to the McDonald's. This is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I've been watching them for about 80 hours, and I can tell you that they do not come there to eat. They come there to socialize. They sit around puddles and they chat. I'm not exaggerating. And then they go and see and then they see a friend fly over and they're like, and they go over there. They are socializing with each other. They are finding mates. They mate for life. This is their disco, I guess. I don't know what it is. But they are all coming to this one place. 10,000 crows is a lot of crows. So let me show you. I've got their roosting ranges mapped. And the biggest range is about a kilometer. That center part is around the McDonald's. And they come every night, rain or shine, snow or sleet, whatever it is, to socialize with each other. It somehow seems to do with the moon. I've been using the moon as a variable because why not? Because I thought when it was a new moon, maybe they'd be afraid, maybe be less afraid of predators. I don't even know who their predators are. There are no predators. And so they might socialize more. On the full moon, they might not, or whatever. It makes no difference. They're just there socializing. And in fact, on the full moon, they have a bigger range than on the new moon. So my hypothesis is completely wrong. But it is incredible to watch them. They come at sunset, they socialize for about an hour, and then they go to sleep. And then I came in the morning, and they socialize for about an hour as they wake up, and then they fly off to their jobs, which is so interesting. Why? Well, this green arrow is to the McDonald's. That's where it is. Do you see down here? There's a huge park there. And guess what? It's a bird conservation area. They don't go there at all. They go there in the daytime, but they don't go in. They don't roost there. I don't understand. This is also Vancouver. Stanley Park, if you've been to Vancouver, is enormous. They leave Stanley Park every night to come to the McDonald's in Burnaby. They leave the endowment lands, which again, a huge, huge park. They leave to come to Burnaby. They leave West Vancouver, which is across the ocean, to come to Burnaby. I know this because I've tracked them when they go back, so I know where they're going. It is so weird, and I just find it so, so interesting, because I think it's cultural transmission. Not all the crows in Vancouver area do this. The ones around that circle do, but not all of them do. The ones that do seem to have passed this on for many, many generations. So this is what this area looked like in 1950. And I found a woman who lived there in 1944 as a child, and she said the crows used to come every night. And so they've been coming there. I have no indigenous records of how long they've been coming there, but I have her, and this is what that looks like today. That's the very same view. So that's the same mountain in the background. You can see what happened in the intervening time, and the crows are still roosting in the same spot that they used to roost for generations, many, many generations, even though we built a McDonald's and all these office complexes. And there's a railway that goes through there too. That's where they've always gone. I don't understand what's going on, but I'm hoping that Kristen can have some conversations about this, because it is so interesting. So the crows are fledging, or they're nesting right now, but when their fledglings are ready to come, we gotta see, do they bring their offspring back? How else? Obviously they must be doing that. But they are coming on their own and having this meet-up, hangout thing. 10,000 animals. Like, if this was raccoons, I think this would have made the news a lot more, you know? This is an extraordinary thing. And people just walk by and go, oh yeah, it's the crows. Oh, are you kidding me? So I'm telling you that, you know, we have mysteries to solve. There are many things to sum up that we can solve, and we should be solving them. So I'm gonna just sum it up, and then we can have time for questions, okay? Involving humans is a lot of work. So if you're a grad student, I don't recommend it as your dissertation topic, because it's not great, but once you have a job or you have another project, I highly recommend talking to the humans. The humans have some things to say. Get involved in some community projects. Get citizen scientists involved. Our biology colleagues do this all the time. We should do that some more. Do outreach, do public engagement. If you get a chance to do citizen science or science communication training as a grad student, take that chance. Do it. It makes a huge, huge difference. Noam's talk, which I thought was brilliant on the first day, brilliant, actually brilliant. You know, it had all those people, like here's who we should be talking to. The last one is the general public. If we don't talk to them, we are doomed, because they're not going to fund us. You've seen what has happened when they don't understand what we do or why we do it. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because the people in Kenya thought what we were doing was stupid. And I suspect that many of the people who voted for the orange one are also thinking that what we do is kind of stupid. And it's not stupid, we know it's not stupid. But if we can help them with some problem they have, stray dogs, stray cats, work with a shelter, work with any charity art organization, work with a wildlife rehab center, do some things. Use your knowledge to help them. So, you know, it doesn't have to be opossums and Home Depot bins, but, you know, we know a lot of things. We know ecology, we know evolution, we know how to design a great experiment. We know how to train a chicken to play the piano. We can do stuff, like we can use what we know, our knowledge, to actually achieve some changes in the world. And if we ask people what they need, we can help them do that. And that will make all of our lives a lot easier. Not to mention just society as well. So I also want to say that the media can be our friend. I get media requests all the time and I go, oh God, every single time. And then I say, okay, I'll do this thing. I hate it, but I do it, and I'm nice, because they can be our friend. They love stories where we help the public. They don't love stories so much about our great lab data, because they don't really care about our great lab data. They will care if you're using something that we know to help solve a societal problem. I guarantee they will be our friend. And if we have friends, we get funding. So I know that that is a big issue in the United States right now, that funding is very precarious, and I'm very sorry for it, and I feel for you. But if you want to search for alternate funding, this is a great way to do it. Have a public health or a societal aspect to your project, and you will get funding. Those of you who have funding like this, you know, it really does make a difference. People will donate money so that you can do the work, and it's incredible. And they also will help you. I mean, they're smart people. So it's great. We can learn from each other. So I just wanted to sum up and say, real world problems can be solved thanks to comparative cognition, and thanks to you, thanks to us. We know how to do this already. This is not even a hard sell. This is a great thing. If you have things that you think might work, ask me, I'll tell you. I can set you up with media people. I can do whatever you want. Let's just get out there. Let's get to it. Let's do some things. Let's make the world better. But let's wait till after dinner.